got the social medias, we got the social medias. You got the Facebooks, we got the Facebooks. You got the Twitters, we got the Tweeters. We got the Instagrams. We don't really use that one too much, but we're on there too. If there's something else, we probably got it. You can find them all in the description at the bottom. Okay, well, ready. Brittany, you go ahead and start it. Hutch, let her know when you're ready.
I'm
ready.
Okay.
Hey, welcome back. So there is a topic. This one's a bit more serious, but I didn't want to ignore it. So there's been a lot of kind of another surge of Me Too revelations in the past week, maybe week and a half, and I just wanted to think that we should mention and kind of address it. It still fucking sucks, like that. We hear so many. A lot of them are pretty prominent people. But I don't get how so many people in this fucking space are such shitbags to women.
Mm-hmm. Can you? So I didn't see this. What happened?
So
who got put on blast?
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I guess this was a bad way to introduce it. So there are so around, I guess, mostly Twitch. There have been a lot of women that have come out and detailed their experiences with other streamers that are predatory. And some of them, I'm not sure if some of them mentioned, rape and other serious, offenses like that. I think some of them did, but it's just it's a surge of people. Some big names. One streamer I know that was accused. I used to watch sometimes. Swifty was one.
Damn, I didn't know about Swifty.
Yeah.
So I know you're focusing on just a lot of Twitch right now, but the Me Too movement that has been going on has been affecting more than just streamers and gaming. Now, granted, these people are the faces of a lot of their communities, so they've been getting a lot of attacks and a lot of people coming out saying that this person is extremely toxic. But it's also been happening in the industry as well. Not just people who work at Twitch, people who work at these variety of game companies. And one I'm actually directly affected by. IGN, the executive producer of IGN, Steve Butts, recently had several women come out and talk about his predatory actions at work and how they were not able to he would not let certain women be in front of the camera because they were ugly or something like that from his that's what he would tell them. Yeah, that's what he
said. That was his excuse.
And then just a lot of things, and it was really weird because I've worked with Steve Butts before, and he used to be the EIC over at The Escapist, and when we did our stuff with The Escapist, I had to work directly with him. I have coworkers that are very affected by this because all these people that they've worked for, they've came out with.
I mean, the gaming industry is big, but it's also tight knit in such a way that all these people work with each other. And I think the thing that's so unsettling about the Me Too movement, that at least from my perspective as a woman, is I've had these shitty things happen to me throughout my life, and maybe I kept it to myself for several different reasons because I was ashamed of it or I didn't want to talk about it. I just wanted to move on, blah blah blah. But and you feel okay, this is just a thing that happened to me. It's probably not happening as often as you think it does. But then when other women start to come forward and tell their stories, it's holy fuck, this is happening all the goddamn time. why? And it's simply because of that reason. Like, you have these people who are in a position of power, and for a lot of people, working in the gaming industry is a dream job. It's really hard to get into it, and once you get to one of these dream companies, you want to keep your job. And you're going to do what your boss is telling you to do. And I've even been in positions where I've worked for a company that's not a dream job. It's just a shit job. But when you're in the middle of it happening to you, you're not realizing how much it is until you take a step back and then you count up all the instances of bullshit that's happened. And I think that's just kind of like a survival mechanism we have, where we go through it and we think it's not that big of a deal. I'll just keep moving forward. So really, you know, obviously I hate when everybody's like, well, why didn't you leave, or why didn't you stop it, or say something, blah, 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 because at the time you're just trying to get through it and survive. And also you're not trying to jeopardize your job. Yeah. So you're going to put up with extra bullshit. But
yeah. Well, and a lot of times too, it's your fucking job. It is the way that you make money, or, you know, it is the thing that is directly responsible for where you're at in the world. And it can be hard to say, I can, like, making a stand and potentially losing your job. That's terrifying. And yeah, I don't know. Brittany made a really good point. Like, the games industry is toxic in a lot of different ways. And now I've never worked in it, but I have friends who have, and there was a period of my life where I really wanted to. And at the core of it, like Brittany's point about it's people's dream jobs, it's a thing of passion, and it's very unfortunate that fucking nerds who have whatever baggage or maladjustment, or, you know, are like, decide to shift that situation so that they can be a predator and take advantage of people underneath them or adjacent to them. That's hella frustrating.
Yeah.
We've experienced it very, I don't want to say subtly, I don't know how to phrase this, but like, we have friends that we know directly and that have had this experience recently, and just had like toxic managers or toxic bosses are getting out of that situation. And it's been a struggle to watch, because like, it sucks all around. Like, sometimes, like, these are people that you look forward to seeing, and then you're like, wow, how did I never see this terrible part of you? Because they don't show it to you.
All of your heroes are racist.
Yeah, exactly. And this was a big problem for me. My perspectives have really changed, obviously, from coming out recently. And most people are still treating me with, like, basically with the same amount of like white male privilege I've always had, which has been interesting. But there's been a couple people who have treated me differently, and I've noticed it for the first time in my life, and it's been
weird, right?
It's been a really weird experience, and it's not good. Yeah, sometimes it's good. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes it's been good, as far, not like the negative aspects aren't good, but I mean, just like some people are treating me nicely. That's all.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's been just a few incidents where I'm just like, why are you being like this all of a sudden?
Yeah.
And I don't, it's really strange how men don't know how to, like, some men don't know how to talk and treat women, when I'm just like, they're people. You treat them exactly the same as you would, as anyone else. And there's these weird, like, nerd bro culture who feel like they can't be sexist, but that mentality is making them sexist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's really bizarre to see, and it's been really bizarre to experience for the first time in my life. But I have a couple of friends I've talked to.
It's like the makeup with Brittany, where you're like, wow, this is kind of a pain in the ass. And she's like, yeah.
Like, I'm not wearing makeup now, and I have scars on my face from pulling hair out. So there's a lot of aspects about being a woman and being perceived as a woman. They're fucking terrible. And that's not just gaming. That's the world over. But, those things applying to gaming, which is supposed to be a progressive, it's supposed to be a morally like correct attitude of people who think that they're not sexist. Do you think that's
the case?
No,
do you think
absolutely
that
not.
Gaming is supposed to be a progressive industry or field?
I think that people perceive it that way.
Okay.
Like most men perceive it that way.
I wonder why that is. And maybe it's just my understanding of like how companies operate, where I know, or maybe it's just like the number of remakes and sequels that we see, where I think of gaming companies as pretty fucking conservative.
Oh yeah, no, I think of
the industry as being full of like people who are artistic and creative, which doesn't intrinsically mean progressive.
I feel it's like faux progressive, like they want to appear progressive.
Bingo.
But when you really get down to their core ideals, they're very conservative, and it's like, oh, okay, you were putting this thing out like that you were progressive, but I don't think you really are. So
yeah.
Like for a lot of reasons why, like I second guessed a lot of the Black Lives Matters comments that have come from companies. Like you just like it's that like virtue signaling kind of thing that we were talking about on that episode a couple episodes ago. It's very similar. And it's concerning. I'm seeing some companies putting their money where their mouth is and like actually like getting rid of these toxic people and whatnot.
Yeah, so going back to Twitch streamers, so I've been kind of taking a break from social media lately for just like personal reasons, so I haven't been keeping up with the stories that much. But I've been hearing a lot of things from my coworkers at work, and one of the big topics of discussion is the streamer DrDisrespect. He was a big one that they haven't released, I don't think, why he got permabanned, but he apparently got permabanned from Twitch. And he was, you said he was the biggest.
He was pretty much their biggest moneymaker.
Biggest moneymakers on Twitch. But
that's like the ongoing mystery right now is he's been removed from their partner program and Discords as well, and nobody knows why. And there are a select few that are like saying on Twitter that they know why, and they can't say why, or they don't feel comfortable.
Bingo.
And so everyone's like super speculating because it's like the big mystery right now.
We're all pretty sure some like statement's going to come out from him about it, but it's still going to be like a one-sided perspective.
I think it eventually will come out. I think there's just a period right now where they can't say it. It may be like a legality issue. They may not be legally allowed to say what's going on yet because we just don't know the nature of it.
Oh, I straight up asked some people. That's what they told me.
But it is interesting that Twitch, like, good for them if they, if they felt the need that whatever it is that he did, and they were like, okay, we obviously can't work with you anymore. So good for them for giving him the boot. And I'm not sure about, you mentioned another streamer, Hutch, but I really honestly haven't been keeping up with it, so I'm not really informed about it.
Don't watch any streamers, really. There's this trap that people and companies can get in where you have a large amount of your revenue coming from a person or a company or something like that. Like you see it a lot with agencies. Agencies will have one company that's like 80% of their business. So their primary goal then becomes to keep that person happy. And in Twitch's case, that meant like letting that individual get away with a lot more stuff than they might otherwise. But like in the end, the healthier thing and the better message to send to the world is to get away from that one person, even if they are a significant amount of revenue.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's what was surprising was that, like, Twitch said that they were going to get rid of a bunch of people, and they got rid of a lot of smaller toxic people that people had complained about.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, but what about these obviously big people
who are now, they've been like getting away with things slowly over time, and now that they're big, they feel untouchable, and they're going to do more and more bullshit.
Yeah, he was especially a candidate for, like, I mean, big surprise, someone named DrDisrespect is being a shithole, but he was like just bluntly being like, yeah, I can do anything I want.
Yeah, and that's that weird mentality of like these companies protecting these people where it's like
that's the American dream.
Yeah, exactly.
The American dream is to become rich enough so that consequences don't apply or important enough.
Exactly.
And you know, I think that's unfortunately the new social contract, the assumption that if you're valuable enough or useful enough monetarily, you can do whatever the fuck you want and everyone will get out of your way.
Yeah.
Hutch, did you want to talk about this for a little bit longer?
I don't have too much to add other than, like, you know, it's good that everyone, it's hard to have these discussions, but it's necessary. My hope is that you know people that are growing up. I know that growing up in the internet age has with so much bullshit on the internet it may appear that it warps a lot of people potentially to be even worse shitlords, but you know it's the hope that you know we're having adult conversations about these very real things. It's a huge problem, and that people the next generations will not will be more be better people.
Yeah.
I see your point. I agree with that mentality, but the nice thing about the internet, the people that are growing up in the internet age, is that because of it, we are actually able to hold these people accountable. Like, enough people. The reason why the Me Too movement exists at all is not just because one person came out and said something. It's because one person said something and then inspired all these other people to come out and say, yes, this is happening.
Yeah.
I'm backing up these stories. That wouldn't exist really without the internet.
I think a weird mentality that people have, some of the like naysayers about these movements, is that they think, oh, well, back when I was a kid or back in the good old days or whatever, this wasn't happening. And it's like, it was happening. No one was talking about it. We didn't have a quick way to talk to each other about it. So
there was no fancy hashtag behind it.
It's always been happening.
It's the same with the Black Lives Matter. The cops
Bingo.
have always been shooting non-white people. But now, we have technology and platforms that we can use to demonstrate that this is happening.
Yeah.
Rather than just it being rumor.
Outside of the gaming and the Me Too movement, this has actually been happening in the trans community as well. And like one of the biggest transphobes that had the biggest platform ever just got permanently banned from Twitter. And that was for exactly the same reasons. We all got together and said, Twitter fucking banned this person.
Yeah.
And they finally did.
Yeah.
And that's the internet coming together to be like, hey, the masses are saying this is what's morally right. We mostly all agree on it. Yes, there's a loud minority of people who are disagreeing with this or fighting it or finding some like what about argument for it or what about this argument for it. But in general, here's the new morality, or here's what should be moral, and we need to strive to reach that level.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And I'm really glad this movement's happening all across the board. All these movements, not just the Me Too movement, but all of them. So, but
yeah, I mean, going back to the Black Lives one, all the action, has brought down tons of Confederate statues around the country, which is great.
Yeah.
That needs to happen. So
there's a lot of good things that are happening, but we do need to remind everyone this is the focus. Is police police brutality, and defund the police so that we can fund the community.
Yeah.
And those are topics that we need to keep pushing and talking about, because like we can get rid of Confederate statues. We can make sure that the Simpsons have have people of color voicing characters that are people of color, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But that's not what black people want. We need to fight for what black people and people of color want. And same thing with women. And these are all small movements, and we need to keep fighting.
Yeah, I just realized that I shouldn't have just said just the statues, but that
You're
was
fine.
just like one thing that came out.
Yeah, no, that's
I'm not saying that anything you said was bad. I'm just jumping off of where you started.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to complete my thought. Yeah, with that.
Okay.
Because there's also the various police reforms. Also, I think a number of agencies have banned chokeholds, and hopefully a lot more do as well.
But they've done that in the past.
Yeah,
like so a lot of this goes back to Michelle's like virtue signaling thing. Like, you know, a police department signing a thing that says, okay, I guess we won't shoot people unless they really deserve it. Like that's effectively meaningless without larger scale reform. And the Confederate statues coming down, a lot of that's people fucking tearing them down.
A lot of them is.
Yeah.
And you know, like some of the ones here in Raleigh, there's a person who has been arrested and is in jail for tearing a statue down.
Even though right after that, the city of Raleigh took the rest down.
Yeah.
Right.
But like, yeah, it's bullshit.
I think the sad thing about social change is that I think some people have the idea that if we push and push and push, these like police will stop shooting black people, they'll take the racist statues down, they'll stop raping women, and
then it'll be okay.
But there's never going to be a point where everything just stops and everything is fine and good. Like, it is something that will get better over time, but we will always have to keep pushing and staying vigilant with that, because if we don't, it will slide back. Because that's just,
it's going to be generations of work, because like just because like the people who were being segregated are still alive. There's generations of horror and like pain that are associated with that, and that's still the case with women's rights. That's going to be the case with gay rights. That's going to be the case with police brutality, and we got to keep working on this for decades. Because
it's
otherwise,
the societal equivalent of quitting smoking or like going to the gym or eating healthy. You know, it's
a change.
You have to always do it.
Right.
So.
Right. You can't be like, oh, I did a really good job not eating Cheetos for every meal yesterday, so now I can just eat Cheetos for every meal today.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So
thank you, Jairus, for lightening it up.
Michelle and I have stopped drinking soda, which is been great.
Here's my water.
Yeah, positive change like that. Like there are large things that need to change, but if one or two of those things change, it's not a victory.
It's a step.
It's part of a victory, but it could also easily slide back.
Yep.
And like we see that a lot, especially with everything going on right now. Like, we have Nazis again. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, always had them.
We always had them, but they're mainstream now. You know what I'm saying?
Now they're just coming out of the woodwork in droves.
That was what David Duke was trying to do. He was trying to bring neo-Nazism into the mainstream, and he succeeded.
Yep.
So that we're going to get into a whole nother topic there. But if we want to keep talking about this, we can. But we are definitely itching tortured to like making this a dual topic.
I kind of. Well, we steered it a little bit farther away from the original intent, which
That's
is
fine.
Be kind to women and each other. Like,
listen
don't be
to them,
shitlord.
Yep.
Believe women.
Believe women, yes.
If you haven't heard it yet, you shouldn't be a shitbag to people.
I will say, on a personal note, I was really grateful because going into work, like, I work with a bunch of male coworkers. It's mostly males, and they do watch some of these streamers that have these allegations against them. So I wasn't sure how they were gonna react. I didn't know if they were going to defend these guys or what. But they straight up told me, they were like, you know what? Fuck these guys. Fuck them. If they're going to be shitholes, I don't care about them anymore. So I was like super grateful that was like, so I was like, oh wow, I was really surprised and it was really nice. And I was like, that's pretty good. So, so shout out to my coworkers for being reasonable human beings.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'd go that far knowing your coworkers. But
That's true.
In this situation, they were reasonable.
Yeah.
On this subject, though, I was very pleased because I wasn't sure how they would react. So
immediately afterwards, one of them probably like shotgunned a can of Cheese Whiz or some shit.
Probably. I mean, they're still garbage boys. They're still little raccoons, but at least they believe me and respect the things that I say. So
yeah.
Oh my god,
that's just that's all you can hope for.
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
It's sad that bare minimum base level requirement of society is met, and we're happy about
it. Michelle, could you make me a gif of Stone Cold Steve Austin with 2 cans of Cheese Whiz, clanging them together, and then just chugging them?
Done. It's so much extra work, but I'm doing it for you. You know what? This is one of my birthday presents to you. Happy birthday, Hutch. I'm going to make that gift for you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, guys, we'll see you on the next segment. Bye.
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 Bye.